rabbit, run.
Follow the drinking gourd.
Yap, yap, yap.
Yap, yap, yap.
Guys, we're so back for another yap.
Here we are, in our homes and in your hearts.
I'm just here to kind of do a shoot in the breeze, low stakes, low effort episode. I am currently somewhere in Europe. Not right now, but like when you're hearing this, you can't find me. I'm in the most obscure countries, but
we miss her.
But we miss me. But don't worry, guys. You'll never notice the difference because we're getting so far ahead. And we're doing this right after we've wrapped Josefina and we're about to start Kit. So we've added another girl to our little collection of ladies.
That's right. It's growing.
It's growing. We've got a girl army building. Different skills, different weaknesses, different strengths. Like
that's right.
All different types of girls, but all with the same goals of family, friendship, love, and unity, maybe.
Okay, no, I was with you. I saw the vision of where you were going.
So, Celia, now that we've come down from our high of being so right about Josefina, Tia Dolores ex-papa,
yes,
how are you feeling?
I think it's delicious. It's good to have a good love story because I think we said this before, but Josefina was probably the best girl to have like a true other kind of narrative plot line going on, like her papa and Tia Dolores, because she's so introspective. Because I feel like the other girls might not have been as fun. Like I think there's a reason you don't see the other girls pay that much attention to the adults in their lives. And Josefina is very like, I'm thinking about everything all the time. So it made sense that we got to see it. And I think it was more delicious and the payoff was more fun. And I feel like it was fun for me to watch, like to talk about it with you. Because I know like I'm an insane person who's like always looking for more in all the media that I have. It was fun to get you on the ship wagon.
Yeah.
And it happened. And
I know.
You're part of the team that made it happen.
I know, I'm excited.
You were the captain of our boat. So
I know. You probably haven't seen it yet, because I haven't shown you, but I start the end of Changes with Josefina with my prediction in episode 1 of
oh my god.
The love story.
Okay, amazing. I love that. That's
a little cold open back to the past.
Amazing. Wait, but that's great.
Well, it's interesting what you said because I was thinking about that. And I was thinking that how, like, the reason that Tia Dolores and Papa's story was able to be so prominent in Josefina's was because of kind of the insular, like, lifestyle of the ranch, where Josefina's, like, whole world was her family, basically. And I was trying to think, like, how it's different for different girls because, like, to your point, someone like Samantha or, like, Addy even isn't paying as much attention to what their parents are doing because they've got their own like shit going on, kind of.
Yes.
But then it kind of made you think of how it's just like interesting culturally different dynamics, and like like I'm sure people always talk about how like in Hispanic families like family is really important, and like the whole idea of a family and like working together and like living together and being in each other's lives is like very highly valued. Where it's in some other societies it's not highly valued, but it's not like the top thing. And I was thinking about kind of in relation to that, how Kirsten's is also a very family, like very insular story where she lives with her aunt, her uncle, her cousins, and her parents and her brothers. But she still is kind of, it's not as much like, we know almost, I feel like we know the least about Mama and Papa in Kirsten's books, you know?
Oh, 100%.
Like they're just kind of there sometimes.
I think you're right on the cultural aspect, though, because I would say Kirsten and Josefina probably similarly spend the most amount of time with all of their family units. But I feel like Kirsten's personality and the way she was written was like, yes, this is my now, but my future is an adventure or going somewhere else or learning or school or city or trunk. And Josefina's is very like, my community is everything. I'm not thinking like there and also like also like outside stimuli come to me. Like the wagon comes to town. Sometimes she gets to go out on little adventures, but even that is like with her family built into her community. So it makes sense that she is so like, I don't know, fascinated by like the lives around her versus Kirsten's kind of like, well, mama and papa are never going to do anything ever again.
Mhm.
Like the farm is the end goal and we've done it.
Well, I think it's kind of, and I'm kind of skipping around on my, like, vague outline for this, but we're kinda talking about now, so we'll talk about it now, but I
Yeah.
made a note that we talked about, like, we've covered 6 girls so far, and we've had, like, 3 outgoing, like, sassy, like, brash girls, and then 3 quieter girls, and I do kind of commend the series because I do think it's easy to make all 3 of the outgoing girls have distinct personalities because you can be outgoing about different things, you can have different, like, special interests, and you can kind of it's easier to be like, "This is this girl's personality," because you can hear it because she's friendly and she's, like, wants people to have the best life or this or
Yep.
that. It's harder with to make a shy person have their own personality, but I think they've done a good job, like, I would not say Kirsten, Addy, or Josefina, who I'm classifying as, like, the shy girls, to a
Yeah.
certain degree. I wouldn't be like, "Oh, you could just switch one of their personalities out for the other," you know? Like, and I
No,
think
I
Josefina is really,
agree.
like, the linchpin on that kind of an interesting way where, like, I was kind of thinking, "Oh, we're reading Addy and then Josefina back to back." They're both kind of the quieter girls, but I do think Valerie did a good job with Josefina about being like, "Hey, look," but she's, like, very observant, and she's, like, taking all this in, and she's, like, having thoughts and opinions about what everyone's saying, and, like, I think especially having the dynamic that she's, like, comfortable with her siblings, especially, like, Clara and Francisca being, like, herself,
Yeah.
was a way to show that, and I think, like, honestly, because she has sisters, which Addy and Kirsten didn't, it might be kind of, like, the impetus for why she felt a little bit more, like, I guess, like, observant is, like, the best word I can think of for it.
Mhm. She had lots of people to take in. Well, it's funny that you said that they all feel so distinct. So we'll go into a longer thing about Miss Valerie Tripp
Oh, yeah,
in a
guys,
little
buckle
bit.
up.
But in the article I'm gonna reference multiple times later, she actually said that the way she went about picking their personalities, because she started with the pitch for Samantha, Kirsten, and Molly. But she said that as she went on and wrote, like, the later girls, she was like, their personalities were meant to be, like, informative of, like, the social pressures and changes at the time. So she was like, I wrote Felicity to be, like, a girl who wanted more independence than a girl, like, of her age in that time would have been actually afforded, to, like, make her seem more interesting in, like, that way. And so I do think it's kinda interesting because we talked a lot in Josefina's books about the, like, proprieties of, like, young women at the time, like, what would be appropriate and what wouldn't, and actually, like, thinking again, maybe to give Valerie some credit, Josefina's sisters kind of and herself find themselves constantly at a crossroads, especially in the last 3 books, of wanting to speak their minds, of wanting to be more forward than, like, they're actually allowed to be.
Mhm,
And,
yeah.
like, Josefina, because she's the protagonist, gets to end up being the one pushing those boundaries. But, like, it is interesting to think about because I think, again, the fun thing about these books has been that the girls are so different, that none of them feel that similar, even though I think people, even, like, our friends who don't know about the books are like, "Well, the girls are just all, like, the same,"
Mhm.
kind of like an energy, or, like, they look different. It's like, "That one's the colonial girl. That one's the nerd freak. That one's the brat.
Yeah.
Then there's the
Tag
cultural
yourself.
girls." Yeah. So, I don't know, I think Josefina has really, like, risen up for me more
Oh,
than I
yeah?
thought she was going to. I really
Well
liked her.
then perfect segue. What's your current ranking of the girls so far?
Yes, ma'am. I wrote it down this time so I didn't have to think as hard about it. Felicity, back on top. She's
Yeah.
still my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't need to explain that. I put Josefina second.
Ooh la la.
I I really liked her. I think her character just really served to, like, giving her interior life, like, a lot of richness. I think I was a little kid who I think a lot of people would maybe now more be like, "Of course you're an extrovert," but I have a very bad social battery. Once it's empty, I'm done. And so
Mhm.
I've always been somebody, like, and I'm an only child, so I spend a lot of time, like, alone, thinking in things in my head and, like, observing people, all that stuff. I liked Josefina because I feel like we know her the best out of any girl, really.
Yeah, I kind
Like,
of agree.
Like, we have so much of an understanding of who she is, so I put her high because I think she's one of the best written girls we've had so far.
Well, I also think weirdly, like, having her have to process grief throughout all the books, like, in a way, you had to open up the character more early on, you know? She didn't
Yeah.
have and, like, in a similar way to Addy in a little bit way where she was, like, a little girl dealing with a, like, adult level
Yeah.
feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Like a feeling or like a situation that adults have trouble with. And so I think having her kind of having to process grief throughout like the first 3 books and kind of becoming more confident as a result of like her family dynamic and who she was around in the later books, I think it did kind of make her more immediately not just like little girl hanging out. Like it was like little girl dealing with grief.
Yeah. Little girl still have chore, but also be really sad.
Yeah. Little girl miss mom while washing clothing.
And then I put Addy 3rd.
Mhm.
I think I like Felicity's really only on top of Josephine and Addy because I think I like if I were to just pick a girl like now, if
Mhm.
I were to buy like a doll and like invest in this stuff, it would be Felicity. But
Yeah,
story-wise, I think Josefina and Addy's books are like
the
narratively my
richest.
top.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, I also feel like they've opened the doors for us to have, like, the deeper conversations we've had. I
Mhm.
think Felicity had a couple moments like that, but
Mhm.
Samantha, Kirsten, and Molly, who are my next 3 in that
Mhm.
order, I still like them, but you
Mhm.
kind of see how, like, it's so obvious they're the first 3 girls
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like, look, it's very fun. I think it's actually fun that we've been reading them in the order we've been reading them because you get to see how the stories have actually evolved over time.
Mhm.
And like Addy and Josefina being like the most recent 2 of the ones we've read and
Mhm.
in the order, it's obvious. There's like
Yeah.
way more love and care. And obviously Valerie wrote one of them, but like there is a developing richness to the worlds and story that
Mhm.
I don't think is totally missing from the last 3 girls, but I don't think it was, like, captured quite right now. Like, that would
Yeah.
be like, looking back, peek into the past, peek into
Speaking to
our
our
past.
past.
I guess that's kinda my closing ranking thought before I toss it over to you, is just I think if I were to go back to them now, I might have, like, more critiques because
Mhm.
we've now had 3 girls, but 2 especially, where I'm like, "Oh my god, these are, like, good books."
Yeah.
So, what's your ranking, Caroline?
I think Addie's still on top for me because she made me cry so much. And like everyone needs an outlet when they just can't access their own emotions personally, you know?
It's so
Just
true,
like
queen.
well they're it's like it's revealing on my family dynamic, but I remember there was like one week like when my brother and I were both home from college or something, or I was home from college and he was just on summer break. And he kept begging me to watch The Green Mile, and he kept being like, "We should watch The Green Mile today. Well, do you wanna watch The Green Mile?" And one day I finally asked him, like, I was like, why do I need to watch why do we need to watch The Green Mile?" And he goes,
Great
I
story.
don't know, I just feel like I could use a good cry." It was like the only way he could access it was through watching, like, a wretchedly sad movie.
Oh, yeah, and I was gonna say great cry option.
Exactly, a craption.
A good cry option for sure.
So yeah, Addie's still at my top, I think. I just thought her stories were so beautiful, and I think and I'm a little bit biased right now because I've been having a lot of fun. I'm watching The Gilded Age right now,
Mhm.
and there's a kind of a lot of crossover between some of the stuff, and I talked about it in one of the Addie episodes where The Gilded Age is kind of dealing with like Peggy, who's the main black protagonist in the show. She's
Mhm.
dating a like very, very like fair skinned black man, whose family is like Rhode Island black royalty, and they're very elitist against Peggy and her family because like colorism,
Yep.
and also Peggy's dad was born a slave, and he made his way out, and they're like her family is like a very wealthy Brooklyn family, but it's not good enough because he was born into slavery, and it's kind of these inner dynamics that like I think like going to a predominantly white school as a child that I didn't get to like
Mhm.
learn about or even just maybe in general were ignored in history classes I think are really interesting And especially, I know now I'm talking about the Gilded Age a little bit, but it's Gilded Age takes place in like 1892, I think, and the Civil
Mhm.
War ended in like 1864. So this is like only like less than 30 years after the end of slavery.
Which is
And
crazy.
it's just kind of crazy to see like I don't know, it's interesting to see like these like black prominent families like making their way, but like we learned in Addy being like lesser than still. Like
Yeah.
it's not in this season, but there's like a really interesting scene in the first series of that show where um one of the girls of like the wealthy White House has like an old pair of boots that she doesn't need anymore. And she's like, "Oh, you know what? I'll give them to Peggy." And then she goes to Peggy's house to like charity dump these boots, and she finds out that Peggy's family is like very wealthy. And she like
Yeah.
assumed they weren't because Peggy was black, you know?
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like I feel like we got such an interesting dynamic into like the poor black world and like the rich black world in Philadelphia in Addy that I wasn't expecting to get that deep of a layer. Like I think I had
Oh,
read as a
yeah.
kid I read some of them as a kid, and I think I was kind of like, "Oh, yeah, so it's a story about her, like, family, like, building a life in Philadelphia," which it is.
Right. Yeah.
But there's so much more, like, Connie did such a good job, I think, in Addy of bringing that out, and I obviously was just so charmed by, like, Addy's struggle, and it still makes me emotional. So she's number 1 with a bullet, Addy. And then I think, it's, like, kinda tied between Josefina and Felicity for me. Also, guys, I know that on some as I've been editing it, on some Josefina episodes, I accidentally say Felicity. I think that's because 'cause they're both just, like, old names. So
They have a similar funny enough, even though they're very different, I also feel like and I do think there's a little bit of Valerieism. I do think there are times where they felt very similar
it's the braid.
narratively. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'll say just recency bias, maybe Josefina second, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Just 'cause, like, but I do think some of Josefina I want to caveat is, like, I think we had a lot of fun with Josefina with our projection of things, maybe
Yes.
more than, like, the straight books, like, I'm putting her slightly higher because I had more fun with Tia Dolores' ex Papa than Ben ex Felicity
Yeah, that's
because,
fair.
it was more my thing.
Yeah.
And I loved your, Ben ex Felicity, but it was more like I was like, "Oh, look at my friend doing this thing." I was in it for Tia Dolores and
Yeah, no,
Papa.
exactly. I think that's a
So
valid way to rank it, though.
but yeah, but I really liked her stories too. I thought they did a really good job, like we talked about in the last episode with the grief and kind of showing that journey and then ending it. And it was also like just kind of nice after Addie's books to read ones that ended on such like a hopeful, happy note kind of.
Yes.
So I enjoyed that. Then Felicity, for all the reasons we've always said, like she's very high up. It's like by the next ranking, I might have switched Josefina and Felicity again, basically, is my thinking. But I know Kit will be top because she's just my girl.
Yeah.
And then I'll say Samantha, Kirsten, and Molly. Molly.
Just wait till we get to the Valerie article where I'm sure you can already see the little quote I pulled from it, but it's crazy work why she picked to write she wrote Molly first,
Yeah, well, yeah.
and I think that's very telling.
But yeah, I just think, like you said, I think they're really good. I love all the OG girls too. I still think Samantha is the most fun, but sometimes I wonder, do we like Samantha because she's just got such a opulent, rich world of like fantastical, like Edwardian, like end of the Gilded Age, basically, like early
Oh,
Edwardian
yeah.
era, like charm, and it's nice to. It's like I think like I really like Samantha, but and I know the whole American Girl community really likes Samantha too. But some of it I wonder, like, and don't come at me, guys. But like some of it I wonder is Samantha truly the like projection doll of when you were a little kid? She had all these like beautiful dresses, these like fancy bows, like tea parties, like she is like a little she's like prototype little girl doll, you know? Like
Oh, yeah. I agree.
so some of it I wonder, and I don't think there's anything wrong with her being a high nostalgia rank, but sometimes I do wonder, is she just like a high nostalgia? And that's not to say that her story isn't good. I know I was thinking when we were cackling at Papa Dolores Samantha's Christmas book when Guard is like rizzing up corn dogs so much.
Right.
Like,
Like there's definitely there's lots of charm in her books, which is why I put her above the other two. But I don't think you're wrong in terms of like she herself is still like not, I don't know, not as developed of a girl to me as some of the
yeah.
later girls. Like like look, if you actually looking back, I feel like as we've, like I said, read more girls, I still love Samantha, love like Old Corn Dog and Guard, love Grandmary, like love all of her world. It is so rich, it is so fun. But you and I were similar, like loved Downton Abbey, loved like the fancy outfits, the like parties, the like you said, the opulence. I do think it's still a fantasy I have. Like I'm not gonna unless I put it together or I pay a lot of money for somebody else to put it together, I'm never gonna get to go like to an ice cream shoppy and have like a social in my like ridiculous gown and hat and shit. Like it doesn't exist anymore. And I do
Yeah.
think I think you're totally right. There's not another girl in the lineup who is as like
Privileged.
uh, yeah,
Yeah.
she is like an access level of, and I mean maybe there will be another girl, but I don't think so. She's
Not
also
out of the original like 8.
she's like
Yeah.
the wealthy. She's very wealthy
Mhm.
too. Like she's just like spoiled, pampered, and I think a lot of little girls, myself included, like that's fun. Even
Mhm.
as an adult, I'm like, I want to be taken care of. I'm a princess.
Yeah, of course. Princess.
So, oh, buentas. So I think you're totally right. And like you said, it's not a bad thing. Nostalgia has a lot of value points for a lot of
Yeah.
people, us included. But over as we've gotten on, I'm like, wait, but there are like cooler girls. No offense,
Yeah.
Samantha Heads, but there are cooler girls than her.
I think when I was just like thinking of the rankings for this, I just kept thinking about how long that first chapter was in Samantha Saves the Day.
Caroline, there's a hilarious article, a line in the article about Valerie where she goes, I used to have my daughter read my books to like tell me if they were like accurate to being girls or not. And she helped me keep them like light and breezy reads. And I was
Who's your
like, did
daughter?
she read a single one of your first chapters?
Your 45-page first chapters out of a
A-
70-page book.
And then it's like chapter 3 is like, I went to the well and I cried. Chapter 4. And then I'm like, what just happened?
I know Valerie's spacing on chapters, considering that the books are all 4 or 5 chapters max. I don't think they should all be like, let's say 15 pages each. Like I don't think you have to be that stringent, but I
Sure.
do think like if one chapter is getting on 25 pages and you only have 70 pages, I'd be like maybe I need to cut some fat here or and like we said in a Josefina there was some where like why wasn't this in the next chapter that's so short?
Yes. It would be like literally like page divider, page divider, page divider. And I was like, We don't need to have this many thoughts in one chapter in a children's book."
I know. Very nitpicky. And then I want to get into the Valerie stuff, and
Yes,
then
ma'am.
T. Dolores ex Papa. But first, I wanted to do one quick fun ranking.
Okay.
So let's rank grandpas. We got 4 grandpas now, and I wanted to save the ranking the hot men until we get to the next book because I know some people are really into Kit's like 16-year-old brother. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
He's have you read the Kit yet?
I haven't read it yet.
He's a charming looking young boy.
Okay.
He's got
Interesting.
he's got blondie energy, but he's a good old fashioned American boy.
I'm not allowed to like blonde men anymore. So
Yeah, it was tough.
I'm
I
a
didn't, I
bit
didn't say
bar-
he was. I didn't say he was for us. I said he was
Okay,
for
okay.
them.
Okay. I understand. I'll
I
keep
think
my
we'd
heart
be, I
open.
think we'd be in trouble if we didn't include him in like a ranking.
Okay.
So we're doing grandpas, guys. So let's say we have Admiral Bemis, Uncle Solomon, Abuelito, and grandfather.
Okay. The ranking I wrote down was Abuelito first.
Yeah.
I love a man who loves to tell a story.
Yeah.
Okay. Love a man who loves his family.
Mhm.
Love a man who's gonna go on an adventure and abandon his wife for several months, nay, years, depending on how long he spends in Missouri.
To go to
And
Missouri.
yeah. And I respect it. So I put him first. Honestly, maybe it is a little recency bias, but I also feel like we have the most about him Bemis,
Yeah.
we've got one crazy story about.
Yeah, I love Bemis, so
I did put him second. I put Mr. Beans second for us. Old Beam Dog. I thought crazy to have children rescue you because your head almost cracked open on a rock. So for that one caveat, I had to put him second.
Well, I just like him because he came in like a shooting star, like burn bright and go out quick.
I get it. That's cool. He said, "I'm gonna show up, hit on this old woman I've loved for years, and then almost die."
And then like hee haw laugh my way through the book.
Insane. So he's second. Solomon I put third, and Grandfather I put fourth.
Yeah, because he's a slave owner.
Yeah, the optics are bad on him.
Are tough.
But I know we talked about it when we read Felictiy. He did have a good character arc, aside from the historical context in which he existed and what he did as a part of
Yes.
that. His emotional character arc with Felictiy was good, but I couldn't find it in good faith and spirit to rank him high.
Yes, I agree. I like I said, I have a soft spot for Grandfather because I remember liking him when I read the books as a kid.
Yeah,
And I feel sad that he died, and he did something nice before he died. He
that's true.
he like, pulled a good one in the end, but I'm gonna rank Bemis first.
Okay.
Because I
Valid.
but it's like he and Abuelito are kind of similar in
Yes.
the sense that they're like I love the energy of like an old man who's just like making like jokes that no one's even laughing at, but he's laughing at them.
Oh,
Like he's
yeah.
like, "Oh, these granddaughters of mine, like, oh, you're crazy, like I'm stuck with you all, ha 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 ha." Like so they both kind of have that energy, but and I do think Abuelito's second, but I kind of think it's powerful that Bemis like comes over from England every year to pine after a woman and takes her on like a moonlit boat ride.
Oh, I mean, who amongst again, dream type of man.
He's ultimate yearner. He's been doing it for years,
Big year. You know what? Valerie's kind of got a thing going on here.
for yearners.
She's a repeat yearn offender.
He's an undeterred yearner.
I think we need to bring it back. We've lost the
Yeah.
recipes, man. Bring back undeterred yearning. But
Yeah.
respectful. Like all the
Yeah.
men in these books kind of defer to the women they're yearning for. Like
I think
to
the
open the
thing
door. Like I'll be
Yeah.
clear about my intention, but until you say like, "Yes, I'm ready." Like those
Mhm.
men like never push past that, which I
I
think
think if
is
you're like a yearner and you're a man, you can like check in, like you can do like a yearly check-in, you know? Like don't pester her,
yeah,
but
yes.
just be like, "Can we kiss now?" And they say no, and they say okay, and then you come back like a year later and you're like, "How about now? Like how you feeling?"
Oh, no, it's crazy, girl. Hey guys,
Like
to our like 4 male listeners, and maybe 2 of which are single. If you're yearning for a girl, uh yeah, and which of them are straight? Follow question.
yeah, keep it up for years, but like also live your own life in between and just do like a check-in, like a temp check.
Become increasingly interesting and undeniably rich.
Yeah, like
So you
Gadsby.
can
It would have worked if he'd kept the yearning up, I think, for a few more years.
yeah, and maybe bought like a boat.
Yeah, he was missing a boat. He had the
He
house,
was
no boat.
yeah, like why have dock if no big boat? How are you gonna
Loser.
ferry her away?
That's
Loser. That's why he
that's
dies.
that's beta behavior.
Gatsby was a beta. This thought and more on our next yap.
Our red pill conversation.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we're gonna start an alpha podcast which just about dissing literary men.
The betas of the literary universe. And then I have Solomon and Grandpa. I wish we knew a little bit more about Solomon. I was very sad when he died, but I was almost like, I wish I could be sadder. I wish I knew more.
I think yeah, I think it was like, oh my god, what a rich life this man lived that like despite the like life that he was given, like
Mhm.
forced into rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would have also liked a little bit more. That was the only like That's the only lingering sadness I have about the Addy books is, like, she had such, like, a interesting family, like,
Mhm.
around her, and because of, like, them being sold and being, like, broken up, from the plantation, like, we didn't get and I actually understand it's, like, a meta commentary part of it, but I
Yeah.
wanted more of it.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, guys, next time we'll do Hot Boys.
Hot
Um,
boys!
but before we get into the Valerie stuff, we just want to do one quick Celia fan fiction corner. So I wanted to get into a little bit of Celia's mind for Tia Dolores' ex Papa.
I
First
forgot I
off,
wrote this down. I
I feel
just
like this is
reread
not even
what
that
I
way. It's a surprise for both of us.
just reread what I wrote.
So my first question for you is, do you think they had any kids?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think they named the kid? Do you think they named it after if it was a girl, did they name it after his dead wife?
I hope not. That feels bad. I okay, Celia hot take corner. There is something low level weird to me when people name a baby over a recently after like first name after a recently
Mhm.
deceased person. I know that's a hot take. Sometimes I'm just kind of like maybe it's like a middle name. It feels weird that that
Yeah.
person died and you're like, here's my daughter Celia. If I like passed on into I'd be like, you don't have to do that.
It feels a little like spirit curse, kind of.
Yes, I don't know, or, like, juniors, like, people who have, like, the exact same name, like, why do you want your son to have your exact name? I mean, I understand, like, a legacy, but I also don't understand, I think it's embarrassing. Why weren't you creative enough to come up with a different name?
I think a middle name is a good way to honor people.
Yes. I have no beef with a middle name,
Yeah.
but I have huge beef with a first name. I just am like, "Come on, you only get so many children if you want them, so, like, pick
Well,
something
what do you
fun."
feel about this? So, like you said, recently deceased, but like I don't want kids, but
Yeah.
I hate being like definitive about anything, so I'm not gonna say I'll never have a kid, you know?
Okay, yes.
Um, and my grandma's name was Margaret, and
Great
and she
name.
went by Marge, and like
Cute.
I wouldn't like call a baby Marge, but I think Margaret is a nice name,
Yeah.
and I love my grandma, so I would like potentially. I was always thought I could potentially name a baby Marge, but call it. I mean, I've named a baby Margaret, but I really like the old nickname Madge.
Oh, that's adorable.
So,
Okay, well, see, here's what you said, though. It really is a recency thing for me.
okay, it's recency.
When somebody, like, recently or, like, if you I won't be any more specific than I need to be. I don't think the person I'm going to refer to listens to this podcast. There is somebody in somewhere in my life who was pregnant with a child, had the
Mhm.
child, and right before their child was born, a member of their family passed away. And then they changed the name they were going to name their baby to honor that person. And I was like, why?
Yeah,
Middle name. So anyway, you guys can, like, yell at me in the comments if you don't agree. But it is a recency thing. I think, like, if you were to have a kid in, like, even, like, 2 or 3 years,
yeah.
and then you named your baby Margaret, and then, like, the little nickname Madge, I'd be like,
Mhm.
"Adorable,
Yeah,
cute." Also, cute way to honor it. I
yeah.
think it is just, like, sometimes it's ranking of weirdness to me is 1, you're living and you have a child with your exact name.
Yeah.
Boo, I hate you. I think it's so stupid. Then 2, naming it after a person who just died.
Yeah.
Then 3, just, like, picking a family name historically and giving it. I
Mhm.
don't think that's that weird.
My
But it
my
is
name's
those
a
first
family
few.
name.
Is it?
Yeah. It's on my mom's side. There's, like, been, like, a Caroline, like, every other generation, or it's been, like, the name like, my grandma who just recently passed, her middle name was Caroline, and then, like, her mom's name was Caroline, and so there's, like Caroline is, like, appears, like, every generation somewhere. I don't think anyone's gonna do it now, so it might die, rip.
See, I was gonna say, I think like that like, my middle name is Rose, my grandmother's name is Rosemary.
Mhm.
So, I get like, I have it. That's literally
Okay.
why. And then my mom's middle name is Teresa for her grandmother. So, I
Mhm.
guess to me, that's why I'm like, I don't know, be more creative. And then if I
Yeah.
had a kid, I might name, like, my kid Teresa.
Okay, I
But
like
I
that.
wouldn't name, like, my kid, like, Olivia. I feel similar to you, though. If I ever had children, which I don't want them, but I love an old name. We've got to bring back old lady names.
Yeah, I like Blanche.
Like Norma,
Yeah. Edith.
Ethel. I love an old name.
Yeah.
Her.
I think it's
Anyway.
new and interesting now. All right, so give us your little fanfic.
Okay, so Caroline gave me a prompt, which was, what would be your favorite fan fiction scenario that would have happened off screen during the Josefina books? And here's what insane thing I wrote. I said, Tia Dolores is bathing and misplaces her towel. Papa has to embarrassingly attempt to help her get a cloth to dry off with without seeing her in an indecent manner.
That happened 100%.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, because I was trying to think, like,
In the river,
when
he
you're-
was going to look for Josefina fetching the water, and he caught Tia Dolores.
and there's like water like dripping down her back, and she's kind of like wringing out her hair, and he's like looking at the muscles in her back because she's been working on the farm.
She's so strong.
She's
I like
so
how we're
strong.
assuming she's bathing in a river and they don't have like a tub of any sorts.
Yeah, well, I didn't get the logistics, so I'm going raw, one with nature kind of energy, or like oh cool, because I wrote towel, and then I was like, I mean, they had like bathing cloths and stuff, so I
You
just
had to
had
wash yourself
assume-
off somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, you like dry, like it would get cold in the winter, but you'd want to still like rinse yourself, so you'd have something to like.
I'm sure they had like a dabbing towel, one of those
So that's-
quilts they were weaving.
I just feel like if you we said earlier, if you live in such an insular environment, things are bound to happen. Like whether or not you have romantic tension with somebody, you're gonna like walk in on a family member doing something embarrassing or whatever. I literally just feel like, especially as they were like growing in attraction, it just happens more and more because it'll be like, Papa's going to run an errand, and then he's like buttoning his shirt up, and she like turns a corner and runs into. Are you kidding? Also, okay, again, big yearner energy. I was actually bitching about this the other day. I was like, we're losing the recipes. People aren't building up the vibe anymore. Why aren't you sweating about somebody a little bit before anything happens?
Yeah. It's like in Vampire Diaries, they have a
Yes.
they have a
I just didn't know what was coming out of your mouth.
they do it. There's like a scene that's like when you're a teenager, like that's so hot. Or adults. But they do this like it's all fake, but they're doing this Miss Mystic Falls pageant, and it's like basically town beauty pageant, weird vibes. But they're all like they do this traditional dance from the town that's like the dance of the near touch, and like the whole beginning of the dance is like everyone is like almost touching their partner. Like you put your hands like up next to them, and then once like the crescendo of the music comes is when you finally touch. And it's
I do like that.
and it's a really powerful scene between Elena and Damon where you're like, I'm like, I think this awakens something in me.
I'm gonna have to watch that on YouTube later.
Oh yeah, we can watch it. We can watch it this fall.
Okay, deal. I'm so in.
All right, then that's kind of it for I want to get into guys. If you haven't been able to tell from this podcast, we've got a real love-hate relationship with Miss Valerie Tripp. And what you don't know in the background is Celia and I are always scheming to find out more about the authors and what's going on. And I don't know if it was on accident or on purpose, but Celia kind of stumbled upon an interesting information on Miss Valerie Tripp, who I think has written Molly, Felictiy, Josefina, and Kit, who we're covering next. I think they had different authors write Kirsten and Samantha. I'm gonna double check that, but
Okay.
we've been constantly wondering why Miss Valerie Tripp keeps writing all the books, and Celia may have found the answer. Sorry, I was being an author while I was trying to say answer.
I understood. I will say while you look that up, the even more insane thing is even because I don't remember, but I think you're right. Even if Kirsten and Samantha have different authors, Valerie Tripp literally created the initial pitch for all three girls' stories.
Okay.
And then got to pick which one she started. Okay, so Caroline is right. The initial inception of me figuring this out was a total fucking accident. Obviously, because like we talk about American Girl on our phones, and your phone is listening to you all the time. Eventually, you start to get like fed more materials about something. And really randomly, like 2 or 3 weeks after we finished Felicity, I got a TikTok that was Valerie Tripp was at Colonial Williamsburg for a, like, celebration, and they were doing an interview with her, and I here's where sometimes time just seems fake. I was like, "She's alive?" I don't know why I felt that way. These books were written in the 90s, in the 80s, so, like, of course she was alive. She's still alive, but in it, she's, like, doing an interview, blah, 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 and she keeps referring to, like, Pleasant Rowland, who's the founder and, like, creator of American Girl, that, like, as her best friend, that they have, like, such a great relationship and all this stuff. So I sent it to Caroline, I was like, "So what the fuck? They're, like, best friends? Oh, okay, so of course." And they've been best friends for a long time. So then, in preparation for today's yap, I did some more digging, and I found an article from the Empire State Tribune. And I'll just go through the high levels, but basically, like, they met at a job working in publishing a number of years ago and, like, became best friends from, like, that point onward. That, like, Pleasant at one point approached Valerie and was like, "I have this idea for a set of, like, catalogs where you'd get, like, a doll and books and stories, and it'd be, like, different historical time periods and stuff." And here's the funny thing, Valerie literally in the article is like, "I told Pleasant that that was a stupid idea. Good thing she didn't listen to me."
Valerie's always good with ideas.
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, loser." I was like, You need to go back to the idea factory a little bit." Anyway, so I have a couple like in the article it says like Tripp sent in descriptions of 3 characters, Kirsten, Molly, and Samantha, but chose to write Molly's books first because she wanted the challenge of making the era of the Second World War appealing to 9-year-old girls.
Me
Having
too.
insane statement to make.
How do I make World War II fun for kids?
Also, not to be rude, I feel like she failed.
Yeah.
Like, Molly's objectively the girl we bitched the most about. The
And still bitch to
story
this day.
is still bitch to this day, not gonna stop anytime soon. I thought that that was, like, such a I literally was, like, reading the article and I was like, "Copy, paste." Because I think it's so obvious though that, like so here's the thing, Pleasant or Valerie Tripp was not, like, writing like, it doesn't seem like professionally at that time. It seemed like she was, like, an editor, and she'd been
Mhm.
kinda doing other things. She went to college for philosophy, also at Yale, which is kinda crazy. Also, she makes kind of a derogatory comment about, like, philosophy degrees. She's like, "Never thought I'd do anything useful with philosophy." And I'm like, "Why'd you go to Yale for it then?" And she's like, "It actually really helped me get into, like, the psyche of these girls." Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought it was funny. I do feel like she failed with Molly, but I feel like she has gotten into the groove. But it does seem crazy to me now that she's so it makes you wonder how different the girls might have been if they had even brought on like 1 or 2 other authors from the get.
That's kind of what I was thinking because I just reread Meet Kit
Yeah.
and I was gonna say, still great. Like, back to kind of a little bit more of the basic, like, sweet energy, like, less
Yeah.
complicated dynamics. Like, it is the Great Depression, but it's like it's her parents' problem, not hers, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it is a good book. Like, I reread it and I was kicking my feet, being like, oh, because I was kind of thinking when I was starting it, like, I wonder if I'll like Kit as much as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I do like Kit, and I'll be interested to see what you have to say because Kit I realize I like Kit a lot because Kit reminds me a lot of me. Like, even as a kid, like, I really resonated with her because of just, like, how she because of the way she is.
Yeah.
And I still felt that reading it as an adult, like, I'll put it in we'll talk about when we talk about Kit more, but so, the funny thing is, we love to hate on Valerie, but we cannot deny that we've liked the majority of the books that she's written. Um But I do think there's something a little tough with it with, like I mean, I think we got so much out of Addy because it was written by an author who was Black and, like, obviously did not experience slavery and that, but, like, had more personal stakes in, like, making sure she got it right, you know? Like
Yeah.
had a feeling like this is a story that I want to be told, and this is a story that I want girls who like I would want little me to read and understand and relate to in a way that like maybe we can't even understand. And I do think there's some benefit to having different authors for all these books. Like it's kind of like the Dear America books. I think they have a rotation of authors, but I think it's more
Sure.
evenly spread out that different authors like you might have written like 3 or 4 Dear America books. But like you didn't write all of them. And I do think it gives you more room to really like invest in those stories if you have more time and more like dedication to it. And I put down here we can kind of just marry it into this part. But like I really like Josefina, but I do wonder if they'd gotten, like, a Latina author to write it, like, would that have been better? You know, would that have, like, had a little bit more, like, authenticness with, like, the tradition and even the family aspect? I'm not saying she didn't do a good job with it, but it's just, like, I think there was something that felt so authentic about Addy's story and so just kind of, like, effortless in
Yep.
kind of not having to explain everything to you, but still having, like, it clear what was happening, where it does feel like sometimes Valerie has to explain things, which is why sometimes I think like, I don't think we really got a chapter in Addy where we're like, "Oh my god, what happened with that chapter?" It was like there were long chapters for sure, but we didn't get any of these, like, expository chapters as much. And I think it's a result of, like, I don't know, I think, like, growing up with the knowledge, you're able to explain it quicker, but if I just learned something and I was explaining it to you, I would have to use all the details to explain it because it's like, knowing how to teach a little bit, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No, no, I get it.
I do think in some ways, like, it's like she's stretching herself a little thin by having to be like, "Alright, now I'm gonna have to be an expert on what it would be like to be a little girl in the Revolutionary War, in World War II, in the Great Depression, in, like, pre-colonial New Mexico territory," you know? Like, there's just a little bit of, like,
Yes.
and like I said, we loved Felicity, we loved Josefina, both Valerie's stamp. I love Kit, I think I'm gonna continue loving Kit from the first book. I hated Molly. But to your point too, yeah, if she's a good writer, but she's not a book author. Like, and I just looked up her like work. It's all American Girl doll books. There's nothing else. Um,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a thing where it's like I think as a writer myself, I write like screenplays and kind of that type of writing. I'm worse at writing prose, you know? Like I'm better at
Yeah.
writing screenplays and I can write prose and not to brag, but it would be better than a lot of people's prose, but it
Mhm.
wouldn't be as good as someone who's like I went to school or I've been training to write prose, you know?
Yes. Well, it's like it's a skill, right? It's like, I can swim in a pool,
Mhm.
but I can swim better than the average person, I would
Yeah.
say. I'm a good swimmer. I can swim underwater, I can hold my breath for a long time, I can do flips and shit like that. I can swim. I'm not an athlete of a swimmer.
Mhm. Yeah.
Valerie's not an athlete of a writer, to your point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even I think you were saying it with Addy, but I think there's a reason the Addy episodes, other than when we would go on more emotional asides, are much more succinct because every
Mhm.
chapter had a really clear POV and a really clear direction.
Yeah. And
And
a
a
point.
lot and a point, and a lot of Valerie's books are meandering paths that kind of find their point at the end.
Yeah.
And honestly, depending on our personal investment in the girl, it works or it doesn't.
Mhm.
Funny enough, I think even more of the reason we hate Molly, she only wrote the first 3 books, and then the second 3 books were published much later.
Oh,
She
okay.
didn't write all 6 of them originally.
Mhm.
Like, they released the Molly doll and the first book and then the second and third, and then
Mhm.
Pleasant was like, "We need more, so you
Mhm.
need to write, like, 3 more books, and then there needs to be these other things."
Mhm.
And there's this very telling quote she wrote, which was, "It wasn't until I had been working on these stories for a while that I understood the key was to have my character's personality be a metaphor for what was going on in her time period." And I
Okay,
was
that makes
like,
sense. That's why they get better, I think. Yeah.
but I do think it's why they get better. But
Well,
I
that's
think
why he
too,
likes, like, changes for Molly better than the rest of the series too, because if she had a break in between.
yes. And but I think generally, other than when we were like, why does she hate her friends so much? But the second 3 books, I think
Diabolical.
were when we were most generous with Molly, where we were like, "Oh, we kinda get her vibe even if she's not for us."
I think the second, like, besides Molly Saves the Day, which is just like the most evil children's book ever written, I think. Um, Still fun, but uh, but I do think Happy Birthday, comma Molly, and Changes for Molly. I think we were more on Molly's side about things, you know, like we more
Yes.
got where the little kid kind of bratty energy was coming from in her. Like I saw her POV more in those 2 books than I saw in like Learns a Lesson, you
Yeah.
know, and even in Surprise. I mean, we like Surprise, okay, and I can kind of see how they thought maybe ending on a surprise book was good because it's Christmas, and it's like, "Oh, happy, happy,
Yeah.
happy," and they got the, like, telegram from their or they got the radio from their dad, so it's kind of like if they wanted to end it there, it was a nice bookend, so that's interesting, I like that.
Yeah. So, anyway, I guess I think it is just like you said, it's very telling. It's very interesting to think about, like, how different maybe the books would or wouldn't have been had they not. And also eventually Pleasant Roland was, like, completely once the company was bought out by Mattel, she, like, stepped away because it was, like, affecting
Mhm.
her health. But Valerie just got to, like, hang around, and I was like, I mean, good on her, right? She lucked into a crazy gig, wrote a series of iconic to lots of American girl books,
Mhm.
and then never had to probably work another day in her life if she didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we both, like I think one is kind of a bit that we're making fun of Valerie so much, but I do think we're right in the sense that you can be a good writer, but not a good author, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and
Yes.
I think she's getting better, which is what happens with practice, you know? Um,
We're watching it happen in real time.
yeah. Like, I do think, like, it is becoming more, like, well-rounded in the stories, and they're getting more succinct, and we had a few weird parts in Josefina, but overall, I did think, like, individually, I think that's the thing, like, if you look at it as a whole, do you like the story as a whole, and do you like the individual books? And I do think, overall, I like all the Josefina books individually,
Mhm.
whereas with the, like, Learn to Lesson being the worst, which when is it not?
Yeah, true.
But, like, I think, like, with some of the other girls, there has been a book where I've distinctly not liked it, you know? Um, and it's just a little bit of, like, it's interesting. It is, like, a friend hire, which, like, who among us hasn't been like, "Oh my god, my friend's a good writer. I've read her
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
I'd
sure,
like
let me
to
do this
pay
with
her.
her."
Yeah.
But, like, there is a little bit of, I wonder what we could have had. Um, like, I don't know. We just got so lucky with Addy and, like, Connie being such a good writer of that book. That it's
Yes.
kind of like the taste of what they could have if they had a more diverse writing staff for these books in some ways. Makes me wonder, like, because I don't know, I just think, like, when you're telling diverse stories and I looked it up, and we'll talk about when we get to we'll get there, but,
We'll get to it.
Kaya is written by the same woman who wrote Kirsten. Um, and obviously, it might be
Interesting.
difficult to find a writer who has like, ancestors in the Nez Perce tribe, so I'm not really faulting them for that. But it's just, like, I think as a white woman, I can appreciate stories and I can, like, understand struggle. But like I said in an Addy episode, the only time I've ever felt like a, like, other experience was when I was living in another very white country called Scotland, and that was just kind of a weird situation in some
Yeah.
just general xenophobia. But, like, beyond that, like, I mean, I was talking to a friend about that the other day, and I was telling him that, and he was kinda like, "Yeah," like, and he's, uh, not white, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "That's funny because like, you could go home, and then everything's, like, back to normal for you." Like, some people, that's home, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I obviously realized that. I wasn't like, "No, this is different because this happened
Like,
to me.
please.
Please, I'm different." But it was just, like, it was a nice way to, like, think about it more that it was like, yeah, I had a little bit of xenophobia and mistreatment when I was in Scotland, but I knew, like, "Oh, I can just go back to America and I'm just, like, back in my
Yeah.
element."
Then
Where
I'll be
some
good.
people, yeah,
Mhm.
many people are Black in America and they feel that every day, and that's the only
Mhm.
place they can go, you know? So, it's just interesting, and I think what I mean by that is, like, as a white person, you can never fully understand what it's like to be born and live culturally, like, as a, like, subsect of a culture, you know?
Mhm.
Like, even if you can appreciate it and you want to learn about it and you can like understand it and you can like celebrate it and accept it, you're never going to fully understand what it is to live that, to be that. And so I think sometimes when we have white women write books of stories of people of color, it's like it's not bad. And I don't think we should be living in a world where you can't like explore different areas and learn about things and kind of celebrate different things. But I just think it could always be better, you know?
I think too, like using your platform to your point. I don't know if you ever read the Percy Jackson books, but I think he's a great example of he wanted Rick Riordan wanted to write a variety of different perspectives, characters. There's lots of diversity naturally in those books, but he hit a point where he was like, I can no longer write like these stories. So
Mhm.
he created an imprint where he was like, write this version for like your culture, your gods, and I'll have authors write that. I think like they're kind of it seems like American Girl is trying to backtrack a little with some of the like corrections and things, but I would be interested if like we look at the more modern dolls, like did we change or right, did we just keep saying like, well, here's a white author. She can write
Mhm.
our Hawaiian girl.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see past these girls if they who's the author of some of the books. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that, guys.
We'll get to it.
But Celia, anything else you want to say for this yap?
I don't think so. My heart is open for a new girl. A kit-shaped hole is in my heart, ready to be filled.
I think you'll like Kit in like the same kind of sassy way of like a Felicity. She's
I love a spunky gal.
she's spunky. But yeah, I reread it and I was very nostalgic and touched because I was like, oh, this is why little Caroline was so into Kit. She's so me, you know?
I was gonna say, I'm excited too because, like, it's a doll you have, like, a direct nostalgia for, which I think will make it,
Mhm.
like, extra fun in its own way.
Yeah. But guys, if you like this episode, then let us know in the comments what you think were some of the instances between Papa and Tia Dolores that didn't make it onto the page. Come up with your own fan fiction for us. And as always, like, subscribe, share,
Send us
follow
a
if
little
you.
kiss.
Yes, it's a little kiss. Mwah, mwah. If you subscribe to us on YouTube, you'll see we put up polls every week. So we're doing the rankings of the girls. DEF CON round. If a girl is lowest, I can only do 4 people on a poll, so whoever is lowest gets voted out. So
Eliminated.
eliminated. And yeah, we'll see what happens next week on Meet Kit. And
That's
until
right.
then, guys, goodbye.
Bye.
Follow